Ever since I started putting myself out there using online video content, I've become more and more aware of frequently asked questions that people seem to have when first encountering me. Things like, what kind of editing software do you use? How do you think of all of the things that you say? And why do you not seem aware of how much you're embarrassing yourself? I don't know. And some questions I've just been getting my whole life. For example, when a telemarketer calls, "Hi little girl, can I speak to your father, Nicholas DiRamio?" "Why, yes you can. I'll be right back. I gotta hand the receiver over." Unfortunately, life is so busy that I'm not always able to answer every question people send to me online. But to those who are just aching with desire to find out more about me, there is help available. And that's the online search engine. You know, like Ask Jeeves, Dogpile.com, or AltaVista. Just to name a few modern examples from internet history that are almost as relevant as me. And that's why today I'm using these search engine technologies to find out what the tens of 12s of people on the internet want to know about me, So establish your Ethernet and go restart your router, because today I'm going on an internet witch hunt to help answer some of Google's most common questions about me, as well as some from my Patreon community in a deep, dark web, and I'm talking elbow deep, installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello television viewers, my name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web, and we break it down like someone who just read a really upsetting Reddit thread about themselves, and look at each individual clip to say, these aren't clips, they're just search terms. And decide if and then I answer them in this case. It's a different episode, all right? I can't make it work always. In fact, if you're watching this video, it means that I'm not working right now. I'm on vacation. So, in order to fill the gap in my production schedule, I've decided to follow the breadcrumb, the digital breadcrumb of Goldilocks and the 3 questions that Google suggests when you start typing my name in. Gosh, you can really tell that I'm clearly checked out already. And checked in to a cruise. But before we get into all of this, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week, so turn on notifications and you'll always be the first to know when I've got a new item in the database for you to doodle base. Also, I've got merch and a Patreon. The reason I had this idea is because I recently had to Google my name. What was I trying to figure out? Oh, I just needed a picture. Like sometimes, you know that profile picture? Whenever I need that photo, because I'm trying to use it for like all of my social media, I don't know where it's saved on my computer. It's easier to just Google my name. And this time I accidentally clicked a few too many links and started seeing some speculation online about things regarding my physical appearance or my secret suspicious motives. And I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna sit down and address the rumors now. The answer, everybody, is yes. I am this annoying in real life. But the Google suggested search seems like a fun place to answer some of the FAQs, but also I needed to check with the awesome introspective community I have over on Patreon, because I knew those would be thoughtful questions. So we're gonna dive into both. As you can see here, I started with the search, is Nick DiRamio? And the first thing to come up is, where is Nick DiRamio from? Great question. I grew up in southern New Hampshire, right near the border of Massachusetts. My parents were both from Boston. My mom is Irish, my dad is Italian. One time somebody was like, that makes sense. Those 2 ethnicities are really genetically attracted to each other. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a really genetics-based worldview. That hasn't been great historically, but either way, here I am. My parents always worked in Boston too. We're very close to Boston. So sometimes I just say Boston. When I lived in New York, I would say that I was from New Hampshire, and people would be like, is that like a part of New Jersey? No, sweetheart, it's one of the 50 states. There's only 50 of them, and you missed one at least. Because when I'm meeting new people, I love to make them feel stupid. That's why I do speed dating. It's like rapid fire. making people hate me. So just to follow up on that, I moved from New Hampshire to New York for college, where I lived in Manhattan, because I went to NYU, and then from there, I lived in LA, which is where many people think that I live now, simply because it's close enough. But I know, I moved out to the desert, where all of the old gays go to die. That's not true, though. This is where you come to live. In fact, the young gays come here to have like a fun 3-day weekend, and I'm like, what if I have a 365-day weekend full of work, stress, doing things that are hard? Just kidding. But I love living out in the desert. Compared to LA, especially in the pandemic. Oof, the grocery store lines were crazy. Let's see what else. How old is Nick DiRamio? Well, it changes every year, but my birthday is April 22nd, and I was born in 1991. So that right now makes me 31 years old. That's below the average age in this city where I am now, but on the internet, it's old enough for people to call you daddy. I remember making a video for my 27th birthday, and I got a comment from someone saying, oh my god, I had no idea you were that old. I was like, oh, so this is what life is like. I guess 27 feels like a prime age. If you're 27 and you're watching this, just know you're young. Not compared to like a baby, but compared to people who have free will and can pay their own taxes, you're doing great. How tall is Nick DiRamio? This was one of the rumors I really did see online. People thought that I was 5'4". I think it was in the context of them saying not nice things about me, such as Nick seems like he's like a 5'4" Napoleon complex, eating garbage piece of shit. When the truth of the matter is, I eat garbage very humbly, okay? And I'm generously, I always forget. We're gonna find out. 5'10" and a half, baby. Ooh. I noticed in the gay world, everyone puts in their dating profile, like their display name if they're over 6 feet tall, because it seems like gay guys really go for the tall ones. However, I've never been clear on my height because I like to think of myself as a short, petite, dainty person. So usually like at the DMV and when they ask me my height, I'm like, I don't know, roughly the size of a sparrow. Do you know what size a Norwegian forest cat is? It's like, thereabouts. Just write that down. I know what you're thinking. There's only 3 predictive questions on there. Okay, so how many do you have? Turns out if you just type your name in a little differently, you can find even more suggested searches. A suggestive search would be when the TSA worker looks inside your cavities but puts on silk gloves first. So what did I search next? Just my name. The first things to come up are very, kind of common things if you have a social media presence of any kind. Thank you for searching for my merch, by the way, nickdiramio.store. I love buying domain names. And yes, I'm on Cameo. Who the Shane Dawson, get his name off there. So anyway, we don't need to pay attention to those ones. There were 3 on this list that really stuck out to me. Firstly, Nick DiRamio IMDb. This made me very curious. As you may or may not know, previously I went to film school where I worked on many projects, but also for a handful of years afterwards, I was just working solely on movie sets or commercials or spec commercials or pilots or things like that, primarily as a makeup artist. So I have acquired some IMDb credit in the past. If we take a look, Nick DiRamio, makeup department actor, known for Conspiracy World, Between Here and There, and Sweet Hollow. I don't know what any of those are. Conspiracy World. Conspiracy Palette by Shane Dawson? I hope not. It says that I'm in the makeup department. This has to be a mistake. Oh no, it says for the segment Sweet Hollow. I do remember Sweet Hollow. Okay, so this was a film I worked on after college. It was really short, so I thought it was a short film, but apparently it's a segment in some kind of full-length movie that got 4.5 stars out of 10. So I do expect to be nominated. Some conspiracies run deep. Visit Satan, worshipping cults, entering the I wonder, the director of this must have sold this project to a compilation series, or is it a movie? What is the deal? Plot summary. I don't know. Conspiracy World. It must just be a series of short segments. The movie, or the short segment that I worked on, called Sweet Hollow, is described as Emily is driving down a deserted deserted road in the middle of the night to visit her sister, but when her car breaks down, a handsome stranger offers to give her a ride. Emily begins to realize there's more to her new friend and Sweet Hollow Road than she could ever imagine. This won 3 awards. Best horror film, Sean Lee, congratulations. He must have been the director. I vaguely remember his name on a invoice that I sent out. Catalina Film Festival, Wes Craven Award of Excellence. Ooh, this was a good horror thing. I know I was proud of my work. There was like a cop in it, and then the cop turned around and revealed a bullet hole in his head. Very much like that scene from The Sixth Sense that I love, where the kid is like, do you want to see where my dad keeps his guns? Oh, hi everybody. I'm just editing this together, and I realized that if you go to our favorite free streaming platform, Tubi, you can find Conspiracy World, this one right here. And then you'll see my segment at it looks like around the 30-minute mark. I won't spoil the whole thing here, but look, there's the cop I was talking about. Yeah, they rented a cop car. That's the cop. I heard his head. Let me know if you feel like we should do a watch party or live reaction to this on Patreon. Are you a member of the Patreon family? Do you get exclusive video? Do you? I ate a lot of Gushers for breakfast, so I'm acting a little crazed. Bye. It was freezing. It was an overnight shoot, and the gentleman who played the cop had a shaved head back here, and I was like, do you mind if I just glue a lot of latex rubber to the back of your head? And he was a great sport, but I remember it took hours in the cold because there was no place to sit indoors on this set, where I was like dissolving this glue out of his hair, and I could tell I was ripping some hairs out. At one point he was like, how are we doing back there? And then we had to share a cab on the way home. And I remember I paid more than half of the fare because he was short on some cash. Not that I had plenty, but I also felt bad because of the fake wound that I applied, leaving a real wound underneath it. This Conspiracy World wasn't on IMDb when I last checked, so this is new. Between Here and There from 2013, I wish I knew what that was. That name sounds familiar. I was the makeup artist. Oh, yes, of course, James Bartol. Very talented, great director, but I also believe works as a production designer now. That was fun. One of my first jobs as a makeup artist. And it was very easy because it took place in the past. So it was like, you know, as a starting makeup artist, I was like, I don't quite know what blush is yet. Now I'm too much. Sometimes I think I know her too well. But that's okay because in the olden times, people had pale faces, is how I feel. So it worked out. The rest, Dry Me Crazy, that all took place in a laundromat in New York, and it was all overnight shoot. That must be why I still have a terrible sleep schedule. Hi, how am I just now realizing that Bowen Yang of SNL was in this film? Like, I obviously remember working with him, but I did not make the connection all these years later that it's the same Bowen Yang of SNL and the Fire Island movie on Netflix. He's hilarious. I think we got along well. I mean, I remember thinking like, oh, that's an interesting name. And he was on set for a lot of time, for 1 or 2 days, I think. So cool, I'm adjacent to a famous person. Girl in the Chair was really fun. Lots of it was based on a neglected child, and so scars on the arm from being bound to a chair, really sunken features, and at one point there was a nightmare sequence where she had, I give her black sclera contacts and these fake teeth. I have no idea what Absolute Threshold is. Oh my god, Absolute Threshold. One of my good friends, Erica Rose, who is now like such an amazing up and coming director, and she's like doing so much cool stuff, the Lesbian Bar Project, and just like such an asset in terms of representation from not only women filmmakers, but also just queer artists and the whole queer community. Erica Rose, I love you. But I'm not just a makeup artist who never had a license to practice makeup. I also was an extra in Black Irish. That was this movie starring the kid from Sky High. You know the movie Sky High? I sat in a classroom scene next to him, and then the girl from the beginning of The Ring 2 sat in front of me. And then when he came in late to class, I turned around and looked at him. I'm talking too much about this. Self. The Sharon Osbourne Show, of course. 1 episode, 2003. We've talked about that on this channel before. That was fun. I don't know who's searching for my IMDb page, but I want to figure out how to get information changed on there, because some of it, like my old stage name Nick D, D-E-E, if you you saw my attempt at a musical career, I covered that whole album in a video as well. Would prefer that we all just erase that from our memories and the hard drives of our existence. What else do we got? Nick DiRamio, Sharon Osbourne. I literally just talked about this. So, yeah, for those who don't know or don't want to watch the video, if you don't want to watch that video, you probably aren't watching this video. Let's just say that. Did you know that I'm eating candy and it's midnight right now? Chewy sprees are the best. I like to pretend they're pills. I don't know why, that's like a weird thing to say. So, I won the AOL Make Your Own Scary Movie contest with a short 3-minute little movie I made with my sisters as the actors called In the Night. It was chosen as a finalist and then got to be voted on out of like 5 others on this AOL homepage, and mine somehow ended up winning. Anyway, after I was in some local newspapers, I got a call from the Sharon Osbourne show. They interviewed me about it. She said, our next guest is an award-winning filmmaker, and he's only 12 years old. Rick DiRamio. I know I've said that wrong. Get out here, Rick. Why do I know exactly what the quote is? The next question is, Nick DiRamio, Journey to Hell. Oof, oof, oof. No one comment that name in this video. I have only like once had to completely remove a video from my channel due to copyright issues, you could say, and this was one of them. I literally can't talk about it anymore because I came this close to getting sued. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. But I don't want any smoke on that. It's to the point where I could not even put it on another link because this person would find me. So I'm sorry if you didn't get a chance to see it or you wanted to rewatch it, but it's best that we all just forget about it until I feel safe again. Anyway, that's enough of the internet there. At least the open internet. Let's hide behind the safety of my favorite paywall, Patreon, which if you didn't know, is where you can access exclusive bonus content. We do a virtual watch party every month. It's really fun. Also, I've got new merch coming out soon, and patrons are gonna be the first ones who get access to it. So let's see what my Patreon family has to say. Megan Yu, who's your all-time favorite drag performer? I think I would have to say Bob the Drag Queen and Monet Exchange. Bob the Drag Queen is the person who helped me realize my non-binary gender identity by explaining the different ways that they felt misgendered in life or by the internet, and it really resonated with me. So yeah, I think I'll go with Bob and Monet, even though they're not one person. Jacqueline asks, did your love of makeup come from working on film sets, or was it the other way around? And if not, where did the interest come from? Other way around, yeah, I really loved horror movies. I went to film school in order to be a writer and director of horror films, because that was always my favorite. And in that venture, I realized that a lot of film students start to find like their niche. If not writing or directing the movie, we had to take production roles on other student films. So the people who were maybe trying to be directors but really interested in lighting and had a strong focus on that in all of their work would become gaffers or cinematographers if they loved camera work. You know, production design, you might do costuming, who knows. But I noticed that not a lot of people were hiring or employing or using makeup artists on their student films, and not a lot of students were taking or volunteering themselves for that type of work, and I felt like it fit in really perfectly with my desire to make horror films. They did offer 2 levels of special effects makeup courses at NYU, so there was an interest in special effects for sure, but in my particular graduating class, I was one of the handful of people who was interested in working on set as doing special effects. And then I really wanted to become marketable doing just straight makeup, as they call it, but I don't like to use that term too much, so beauty makeup. And so I started getting knowledgeable in that, and I realized it fit in perfectly with the other things that I love about film, which is like painting with light, building a sense of dimension even though you're watching on a flat screen. And classic Hollywood films, I was just always obsessed with how creamy and milky their complexions look. And the history of cosmetics and marketing in general. I love commercials, so makeup commercials were always fascinating. So it all just kind of culminated, I guess. Also, Jacqueline asks, are there any drag queens other than James Mansfield that you've become friends/friendly with because of YouTube? Shout out to James Mansfield. And the answer is yes. For example, I've been lucky to meet several queens local to Palm Springs, like Rosemary Galore. I was just at a show seeing her perform the other night. Definitely follow on Instagram. Tell her I sent you. As well as Anya Body, who is another local queen here who works at a celebrity impersonation show. I was at the show and she saw my name on the list and recognized it from YouTube. So we got to take a picture together and I've been a fan ever since. Also, Twink Trash, I had seen always being retweeted on Twitter, and we just recently DM'd and followed each other. So that I all credit to YouTube. You know, I am so honored when a drag queen appreciates my sense of humor because, you know, I just love the irreverent kind of way that drag as an art handles society, handles all like things that are traditionally oppressive to the queer community or to women or to any other oppressed group. You know, it's like to laugh at it or make a joke out of it is, I think, really powerful. So for the queens who inspire my comedy to think I'm funny is a real treat. Breakin' Burl, what do you do for self-care after filming or creating stressful videos, i.e. the ones from bigots that hit close to home? That's a good question. You know, I see your point. Like the video topics are stressful, and I certainly can get worked up when thinking or discussing injustice. Like, for example, the recent video I did on the drag queen to Republican, conservative, anti-gay pipeline. When I'm first hearing about those issues, like George Santos, I am stressed out, right? Like I'm reading the news or watching it and it's stressful. But I don't typically think of the videos themselves as stressful, probably because the process of putting them together, finding, like when I'm sitting here and I say something that I'm like, what's a quick, concise way of saying that and getting my point across that's also funny? It literally kind of feels like digesting it so that by the time I'm saying it, I'm like, oh, I feel better. I just made the point about how unfair that thing seems or how unjust the world is, but I really thought about it and I condensed it into a punchline, and now I can move on. And hopefully, I think that's why I like comedy that talks about relevant topics, because hopefully the ability to laugh at it or point out the ridiculous nature of it makes it easier for the viewer to stomach as well, at least for the period of time that they're watching the video. That would be my hope. So the question though, what do I do for self-care? I do love yoga. I love running. I have not been since winter because it's just so cold and my hands get dry. I love watching YouTube as well. I don't really watch much regular TV. You know, self-care is like with anyone else, it's a big balancing act. I've been working really hard, especially the last few months, maybe overdoing it with the way I try to pack in the opportunities that I'm so grateful for. But I have to always be careful to kind of like make the videos shorter just so that I can maintain a work-life balance, like sleep. I love sleeping, but I do not get full nights of sleep, which is, I know, not good for my skin, which is another area of injustice that I'm gonna talk about now. I'm gonna go on one of those tangents. Caretaking, whether in the home or a formal caretaking role in the medical field or healthcare, it's just something that America historically has not valued enough. We know that nurses are underpaid and preschools and childcare facilities do not have enough resources, and it really contributes in a big way to the wage inequality of this country. For example, 76% of all healthcare jobs are held by women. In fact, you can even trace this back to a political compromise that was made during the New Deal with the Southern Dixiecrats, as they were called. Between 1933 and 1939, domestic and farm workers were excluded from key benefits that the New Deal offered, like Social Security, a minimum wage, the National Labor Relations Act, and overtime protections. At the time, most of those jobs were held by non-white people, and in some regions, the majority of those jobs are still held by non-white workers, and they have more labor protections for domestic and farm workers now, but that doesn't mean their wages have kept up with the rest of the workforces of the country. It creates a lot of inequity in terms of payment, like for race and gender. In fact, 1 in 9 workers are paid wages that if they were the sole earner of their household, it would put them in poverty. Multiple states are proposing what's called a guaranteed income program, which is basically no strings attached. We give cash to people so that they are earning enough money to live. It's gonna put value back in and reward the people who do these important jobs. And that goes for all types of caregiving, whether it's formal low-wage healthcare jobs or just family and friends who have to care for each other in illness or due to age or childcare. All of that deserves to be supplemented. How else are you gonna pay for the huge price of eggs in this country? I think helping people understand what guaranteed income programs are means we can start to work to push for them in our own communities. I love skincare. That's a good substitute for sleep. Going to Sephora. Really into the Tatcha Indigo Overnight Recovery Cream right now. In case that wasn't a question, but I'm telling you that. Also, how is it being everyone's cat's favorite creator? That's an honor that I truly wear like a badge of pride. Nope. What Break-In here is referring to is I often get tagged or sent pictures on Instagram or in stories of people's pets watching me on screen, and they do seem fascinated. They seem transfixed. I think it's because I move so wildly and I have bright colors on the center of my chest. Or is it because I'm Eliza Thornberry and your cat speaks English? I don't know. But one time I said, please tag me if your cat is watching the TV while I'm on it. And for like a week, I was like, oh damn, your cats really watch TV. All my dog watches is me when I'm eating something. He doesn't care what I'm saying or what I'm wearing. So while I can't say for sure that I'm everyone's cat's favorite creator, I can say that I endeavor to be, which is why I cover myself in cat urine before shooting these videos, hoping that the ammonia will bring the strays through the screen. Anyway, back to the questions. Megan asks, what is one of your life goals you've yet to achieve? I would love to be on, well, I've been an extra in a movie, in several movies. I was an extra in the movie Babylon that came out on Christmas Day. It was a very long day. Weirdly, also like my old beauty company social media job in Simi Valley. I had to drive out to Simi Valley from Palm Springs, and I was there for 20 hours, and I did sneak a picture on set. They put these little black stickers over your phone lenses, but I was like, what if I don't take that sticker and put it on my phone? But, you know, there I am with the hood. But I would love to be actually in a role, either on TV or in a movie, to see if I can do it. I feel like I understand from being on the other side of the camera in any capacity what kind of helps sell a performance and what makes acting feel like acting. You know, when you're watching someone and you're like, I can tell they're acting. I feel like I have a good grasp on what reads as natural on camera versus how it is in real life, you know? So I want to test that theory by taking a role. Good question. Sophia asks, how do you come up with such funny jokes and lines? Thank you so much for saying that I'm funny and fantastic. That's very sweet. Well, I think I noticed at some point in high school that people considered me to be naturally funny. At least they would tell me that I was. I think, growing up in, we used humor a lot in my family, I think, to get through tough times. Like we had a house fire and we were displaced from our home into a trailer that was on our property for about 18 months. I know that there are many types of situations that are much more difficult in terms of home life. Like I did have such a supportive family, and we had, despite that year, surrounding that, I had a lot of privilege growing up, but it was still tough for all of us to cope with that change. New Hampshire winters are terrible. The dog that I'd had my whole life had to be put to sleep that year. And that's really when I was first diagnosed with depression. So it was great to have a family where we could still kind of laugh and get along. And I also would kind of watch comedy movies and TV like everyone else, but I think I just always was kind of focusing on writing and the wording and wordplay a little bit. So I really honed those skills even more in school. I took sketch sketch and situational comedy writing courses. I took it twice, actually. There were 2 professors teaching it, and I wanted to experience the class through both of them. And, I was in an improv troupe in high school. Loved it. It was actually a musical improv troupe. Like, we would make up a whole musical with this great pianist named Andrew who could just like improvise great songs. So I think that's also why I find myself making up songs a lot. But also, it really helped me just sort of like pull words out of nowhere. You know, when you're on a tangent and you're like, I don't even know where the next word is coming from. But eventually you get in the habit of kind of knowing or having, I guess for me, like an arsenal of things that I like to draw from that I consider signature styles. You might notice, some people have commented, I love the use of alliteration. So if I can be like, what kind of Tonka truck tool shed tire tread ran over your face, Mr. Wrinkles? That to me is like, all right, he said it. He said a full long thing. And it's just, I think for me, it's satisfying to say. Hopefully it's satisfying to listen to. And it makes, I feel, the humor sound more intentional. Also, for me, it's all about the rule of 3s. I used that in the beginning of this intro. I was like, oh, I gotta say 3 things when I'm like, this thing about do. And then the third thing, like the first 2 set up a pattern, and then the third thing subverts the expectation. I think that's my main philosophy on comedy is subvert the expected. Make people think they know what you're about to say, and then say something way different that also somehow makes sense. I don't know if that explains it fully, but that's the most I've thought about it. Either way, don't overthink it. As long as you're laughing, we're laughing. I'm smiling. 3 things. Sarah asks, do you enjoy the life of being an influencer? Are there any aspects of it that you weren't prepared for? I do enjoy the life of being an influencer. I have always been very industrious, is the word my mother uses. Another term might be entrepreneurial. I was always starting little businesses. I loved the whole idea of like coming up with the name of a business and then what am I gonna sell? And then professionally, right after school, where my production course load was mainly in commercial short form, and also some experimental. I took experimental film course with legendary filmmaker Amos Poe, which was another really cool part of going to NYU. Was like the professors, you know, were just really well established. Boris Fruman was one of my professors for my initial camera class when we used 16mm film. Why am I saying so much? The point is, I went on to do commercial short form stuff. I really was interested in commercials, advertisements, and that's how I got into social media. Plus I was a makeup artist, so doing social media for beauty and hair brands was a good fit, but also incredibly stressful. You would think selling hairspray to Sephora would be like not the most stressful thing on earth. It's not like my sister saves people's lives and I'm trying to like make a boomerang or like get an influencer to do a short snackable piece of content, as Sephora like to call it, and then invoice them on time. But the higher up kind of management, I think, at not the corporate level, but below corporate, but still I was on their teams. Like those people could be very demanding, and it was a high pressure environment. So I was always yearning to make a full-time career out of building the business out of my own strategy and ideas. I was a brand manager, and that gave me a lot of those freedoms as well. It introduced me to a lot of resources that helped make running this business easier. But I love being able to decide how I'm gonna market my stuff, what I'm gonna do next, what my strategy is, and knowing that there's value in having good help and where I can outsource and what different online tools are available that I can use to and keep up my production schedule. And there were days when I was just miserable in those jobs because I was so anxious about meetings or getting yelled at. I was always afraid of getting fired, that I'm so grateful that I don't have that as part of my schedule anymore. And I was just always yearning for a life without that. To answer the second part, are there any aspects that I wasn't prepared for? I think a recurring theme for me has always been thinking that this dream job is going to be free of stress, when any job you care about, my good friend Eric says, any job you care about, anything you care about is liable to give you stress. And that's definitely the case here. You know, that's why I wanted to be a makeup artist. I was like, how easy. You stay in the dressing room and you talk to the actresses, and it's like, yes, and that was fun, but also you have 5 minutes to do it. The director hates it. You have to wipe their face off. You have to, anything can be high pressure. And if you want to show up, like, if I wanted to show up doing a good job, it can be stressful. And particularly with what I do now, I really hold myself to a high standard. I feel like people expect a certain amount of content from me, and I know you're also sweet if I ever am off track with my upload schedule, but I also am like keenly aware that like when the content is out, it can help improve people's mood. I love when my favorite YouTubers put out a new video, like there's this endorphin rush, and I somehow attach a lot of my endorphin rush to your endorphin rush maybe. So that's something I always work on with my therapist, is because I realize now like there is no job that's going to be stress-free because I just care about my work. That being said, it's an amazing job. I'm very privileged to have it. I'm so grateful for all of the opportunities it brings me, and but also the final part that I'll say about that is there's something about having a office job, like an employee job, where even though I was always afraid of getting fired, you can prove your income a lot easier than with something like this where things fluctuate from month to month. And frankly, if you look at YouTube, like people can be in one day and then out the next. So I get stressed worrying about the longevity. Not that I'm going anywhere. But I want to save money. I want to like future-proof. I wanted to be able to have a retirement. So that takes a certain amount of work, and that brings in phone calls and payroll people. And I have a great financial advisor out here who is a dear friend of mine. So I'm lucky to have really trusted people on my team who know how to make the income that I'm making now, how to save as much of it as I can and make it grow over time so that I can retire one day and not be like, oh, I was on that production schedule for decades and then had nothing to show for it because I bought a Tesla or whatever. No shade if you own a Tesla, but I'm happy with my Prius right now. Even though the bumper's falling off. My fault. I ran into a, like, those, what are they called? The, like, sides of the road? Curbs. Darcy asks, what is your favorite movie soundtrack? Oh, that's so hard. Oh, I wish I was more cognizant of soundtracks when I watched movies because they play such an important part. I'm gonna have to say the reboot of 2006, the reboot of The Hills Have Eyes. For a horror soundtrack, I thought it was so unsettling that guitar chords that would happen, like that was deeply scary and I thought innovative, so I loved that. But otherwise for movies, I don't know, I really loved La La Land. I love Rent the movie, but can you call that a soundtrack? It's an adaptation of a Broadway show. Any movie musical. Ileana is amazing, and she asks, what's a compliment or criticism that stuck with you? I think criticism that really stuck with me early on, I made some sort of comment about like, who under the age of X is still a virgin, really, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't a direct criticism, but I did read a comment that was like, someone reacted and it was like me sitting here as an asexual person and then like an emoji being like, and I realized like, oh, Nicholas, that was privilege, like not everybody has the same background as you. Not everybody even feels sexual attraction. Not everybody wants that anyway, regardless of their sexuality. Like there are many reasons why someone wouldn't want to be generalized in that way. And it was just a strong example and a strong reminder that like, do you really know? Like, don't speak, it taught me not to speak in such absolute terms and tell people what they should or shouldn't have done by a certain time period, because that can be invalidating. And I think it made me a lot more aware. And compliments, I mean, I get so many amazing compliments from people that just like encourage me to keep doing this and, sit down and make the next video. And it's like always anything that you've said in favor of my videos is like, is not lost on me. So thank you. Madison asks, love you so much. I love you back. What's my biggest inspiration starting YouTube, and what motivates you to keep making movies or keep making videos week after week? They're the videos a highlight of my week. Thank you, Madison. It's kind of like what I just said, where that kind of reaction is so visceral to me. Like I always wanted to make horror films because I felt at the time that horror, causing someone to jump in fear or scream, was the most physical reaction you could get out of an audience. And I just thought it was so cool. And I was terrified of a lot of things growing up. So to be able to like take those ideas and turn them around and throw it back at someone, or use the medium to recreate that feeling in others through storytelling. But now I feel the same way about making people laugh, or voicing an opinion that they're like, I thought that too. I thought I was the only one who thought it. Like, that kind of stuff makes us feel, it's a really fun part of being human. So when I get the response that it has done that, and like, for example, saying that it's the highlight of your week, I so relate to that because there are many YouTubers who I watched throughout my life, particularly my 20s, where like I would go to those jobs that I hated every morning, and I was just like, I was so nervous to going to work. The anxiety was out of control. And the only thing that would help me get out of bed and like get ready for work was throwing on one of my favorite YouTube channels, like How to Cake It, or like Trixie and Katya. But to think that my videos are doing that for other people and meeting them, maybe not always in the best of circumstances or in a good situation. Like, I love when people say they're watching with their family or their partners or their parents. It's like, what a cool concept that like people are brought together by it, or that they feel closer to me or feel less alone by it. Like, that kind of stuff really makes me proud. So I always keep that in mind when I'm like, I could just take the week off. It's like, you could, but is that really going to be building like core memories with these people who relate to you? Maybe if you do a video this week, you'll say something that really sticks with people, or sticks with somebody who wanted to hear something like that or needed to. So just, trying to read your minds is what keeps me motivated. And it's all for you, Damien. And I think this is our last one. Have you ever been recognized in public? If so, what is that like? Yes, several times, and it's always fucking amazing. Like, it was always a dream of mine as a kid. Like many kids, I dreamt of being famous, but I realize now in adulthood, I would not probably like the pressure of being like Sandra Bullock famous or Keanu Reeves famous. Did I just watch the movie Speed? Why those two? Either way, like, I wouldn't want to be so famous that you can't go to the grocery store. You basically need an assistant to do everything in public. But so to have an audience where like if I go to the Big Time Rush concert or White Party or any large event where there's many people, somebody might come up and say they love my videos. It's always a surprise, and it's always like, I'm so grateful, and taking pictures with you. It's like, please tag me. It's so cool. And one time I visited home, my family in New Hampshire. I was somewhere alone individually, at least with each member of my family. So like, I went somewhere with my sister and with my mom and my other sister and my dad. And each time we were out somewhere in public, like we were at a gas station, and the young woman working there recognized me, and like, that was like, I just wasn't expecting it, because I'm like, this is the drive that we've taken so many times. Like, we always stop at this place, but realizing that like, oh well, new people exist now, like and it also is just kind of like, I was so excited that each member of my family got to kind of see me get to interact with one of my subscribers, because I was just like, ooh, it proves that it's real. Not that they ever doubted me. Like, my whole family has always been so supportive of my creative abilities, and always kind of pegged me as someone who just like figures out, like, I set a goal and I kind of just like make it happen sometimes, is their impression. I think there's a lot to be said about visualization, because in the past I've been like, it would be so cool if I'm ever like when I had 8,000 subscribers after 4 years of cranking out videos, that's what would kind of keep me going, is visualizing like, it will happen. It will happen. And one day I'll be able to like feel really excited when people in public notice me, and my family will see, like, and it'll just be really validating. And then it happens. And so it felt like my dreams were like all coming true, but it's not a dream. It's like just what happens when you, I know it sounds so cliche, but believe in yourself. Positive self-talk is really something that I had to work on when I moved out to LA, before starting really uploading regularly to YouTube in 2016. Because if I didn't have that, I would have given up. It's hard work. There were many nights where I was like, I just want to sit and watch YouTube. I don't want to make YouTube. But I would be like, well, you can watch YouTube after you do the YouTube thing. Even though there was no income from it and I had to work the next day, I realized like there's no one else that's gonna make that thing that you're dreaming about happen. And if you don't do it, then like the time will pass anyway, and you just won't be no closer to the goal. I'm not trying to sound like one of those hustle culture people, because, as I also said, finding balance in that drive is also important when it comes to like having a sustainable career for me, or like to not burn myself out. So yes, people have recognized me. It's so validating, and I think my family was always more aware of how supportive all of the people who watch my channel are than I am, because they read the comments more thoroughly than I have a chance to, because I'll just like move on to making the next video, and they're like, did you see this one? And send me these screenshots that of like the particularly touching stories of people who are going through something and got something out of the video. So it just makes me feel really proud and excited whenever we get to meet. So like I went to the Lady Gaga concert and some people DM'd me, I saw you there, but I didn't want to interrupt you and your friends. And I'm like, my friends, you're better than them. Please come say hi if you ever see me. It's always so cool. At the flea market in Pasadena, that was so cool. Met some great people at all over the place. So yeah, it always thrills me. It also makes me realize like I'm a full grown old person now, because like I used to be 22, and now when a 22-year-old comes up and I'm having a conversation with them, I'm like, I thought I was an adult, but to me now, 22, you seem like you're so youthful and young, and I'm like, I'm old and old. So it's crazy to experience that. It's surreal, and I'm so grateful for it. I do not take it for granted. I had originally planned to react to some of the art and short films of my patrons, but I can tell this video is already getting long, so I'm gonna save that for another video. Perhaps I'll release it exclusively on Patreon first, and then I'll think about showing it out here on the other side of the paywall. Thank you so much to my Patreon community for providing these insightful questions. It was so fun to be interviewed by you, as well as Google. Nobody asked how to pronounce my last name. I don't know. DiRamio is what I say, but other people in my family say DiRamio, and some online still think it's DiMario. So I try to just put Nick D in the tags of all of my videos, so that hopefully that's all you need to type before it pops up. Anyway, again, thank you all so much for watching this video, watching any of my videos, for being a member of my Patreon community, for checking out the sponsors, for clicking the merch link. Like, all of it is so much more than I could ever ask for. The fact that you feel like doing it at all, it just stuns me, and I'm so grateful to be able to spend this time with you and talk freely about the whole experience over the last, I guess, 3 or 4, it's like 4 years now that I've been full-time YouTubing. 2020 was when COVID was. 3 years flew by. So I'm so grateful. Thank you if you've been here since the 8,000 subscriber mark, the 1,000 subscriber mark. Like, there are people who watch my videos now who were watching back in 2016 when I was like doing whatever, you know, really trying to find what my topic was. So, and thank you again. I don't know what else to say. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you so much for joining me for this Nick DiMario Google goggling session. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you're excited to get back into clip breakdown once I get back onto dry land. Also, don't forget to subscribe by clicking that button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week, so turn on notifications and you'll always be the first to know when I'm smashing the paywall like the Kool-Aid Man. Thanks for your patience while I take this vacation. I will see you next time. Mwah!